It says live.
He's not here though.
Yay, we're live. Yeah, let's go. Hey, welcome to the water cooler.
Hey,
I'm not Jason Tucker, but let's go around the room and introduce everybody, and then I'll talk about our sponsors. Manny,
ladies first.
Say.
All right, I'll take it. Hey, my name is Say, and I work in a button factory. No, that's not right. I make WordPress, teach WordPress, bleed WordPress, think about WordPress, and dream about WordPress, and get kind of tired of WordPress.
Let's talk about Say's dreams.
Don't take my song. All right.
You go around the room. I have to leave for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay, bye, Jason. Jason, other Jason, your turn.
Hey everybody, Jason Cosper, aka Matt Mullenweg. Happy to be here, happy to talk WordPress, and yeah, let's do it up. Manny?
Yeah, I'm Manny, I'm based in Las Vegas. I co-organized the WooCommerce meetup here in town. This is next month, now in June is our 4th year anniversary doing the WooCommerce meetup, and we're gonna also have WordCamp this year. Is the 10th anniversary of our WordCamp in September. So you guys,
WordCamp what? WordCamp who? Vegas?
Las Vegas. Yep.
Nice.
Not far from you, right?
Vegas is basically like another like universe as far as I'm concerned.
You should come. It's an awesome WordCamp.
I went to WordCamp Reno. I think I may have also gone to WordCamp Vegas. But I forgot to say, 1, I'm at Say Read Media on all the things. And 2, I'm also a co-organizer for WordCamp Long Beach. What? In the house.
And I'm Steve Zangen. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup. So what do we want to talk about today?
Let's talk about Yoast and me. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the drama and the fun things that are WP. Let's talk about Yoast. Actually,
right, let's talk about
we don't have to. I just really wanted to sing that song.
WPwatercooler teaser, it should be that.
What we want to talk about today?
Yeah, I'm just sad that Say couldn't figure out how to fit Yoast into a 311 song. That really
I don't know enough 311 songs. That's really the problem. We could talk about that. That'd be fun.
The fact that you don't know enough 311 songs?
I think that could make a scintillating half an hour.
We could fill 27 minutes with that.
Totally, easy.
All right, what happened with Yoast?
Well, you would first have to summarize what had happened in the first place, where in so far as Yoast Devalk of the Yoast plugin suite, SEO primarily suite, took on a role in the WP project. Let me turn that off. Took on a role in the WP project as what he had thought would be sort of a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer role. And on Wednesday, is it Wednesday now? Is that yesterday? I think it was Wednesday. I don't really know. Either yesterday or the day before, he resigned his commission in a short, that happened at WordCamp US, which was in December. Is that accurate? That was in December. And it is now, what month is it? It's
6 months, June.
So that was a 6-month experiment. The most interesting thing about it, I thought, was that he framed it, the way that he framed his resignation letter as him failing, which I didn't think was actually what the subtext said, but then all the comments on his blog post were like, it's okay if you fail, you just pick yourself right back up again.
Wait, so let's step back a little bit here.
Okay, yeah, but that part was funny.
Is this automatic or is it at the community, at the foundation?
That was part of the problem because everyone thought he was working at Automatic, which is not the WordPress project. That's WordPress.com. But he was taking on that role for the WordPress project, which is a role that had not previously existed. And that happened at the same time that Josepha Hayden had taken on the role of executive director, another role that previously had not existed. So these were 2 brand new roles. And really, they were very undefined. They were undefined to the community, But the interesting thing is from Yoast's post, Yoast's post,
on the Yoast post.
the Yoast post, it was he basically made it clear that it was also undefined for him on the inside, which I think is very, very a bit of a microcosm of the WordPress project in general, because everyone's like, oh, this is so undefined and it's unclear on the outside. There must be some secret cabal of people who have this figured out and a plan and whatever on the inside. And what I believe we can take from this, and in my experience of now way too long with WordPress, what year is it? This is 12 years that I've been working with WordPress. Oh my Lord. That is not the case. It is also just as unclear on the inside. So, and maybe there is no inside. Maybe the inside is outside and upside down. Maybe it's Bizarro world. I don't know.
So I read the post. I read the Yoast post as well.
The Yoast post.
I read the Yoast post, and I kind of read the same thing you did, right? I mean, he was kind of looking in the mirror and looking at himself to see where he may have screwed up, but I didn't necessarily see it as his screw up.
Me neither. I think it was a very unclear, definitely a misalignment of expectations.
Oh, are you stealing my terms?
Oh, did you say that?
I didn't. I'm kidding. No, I said it to you. I'm just kidding. Go on.
You did?
I did. Go on.
Well,
I did. It's all right. Go on.
You can
I'm
have
just
it.
messing with you. I'm just messing with you. It's not my turn.
As Steve Zingott says, it was a misalignment of expectations. I don't want to take credit for someone else's word.
No.
I don't know who that song was by the earlier. I think it's like TLC or something. So just to credit them also. I didn't make up that amazing Yoast song.
It's Salt and Pepper, but that's beside the point.
I just Googled Yoast resign WordPress and I couldn't find it, so I don't know.
You haven't read it? I'm so glad we chose this as our topic today.
So I also believe there was a misalignment of expectations, and I don't know that anybody was necessarily at fault, right? Nothing. There's a way to look at this where nobody did anything wrong, right? Nothing bad happened, right? There's nobody really to blame. It's just different.
As far as we know.
But what I read in the post is it's different. It's different management styles, right?
Yeah. Or no management styles.
That's still a style.
That is a style.
Right?
True. Just like how making no choice is still making a choice.
That is it. Yeah, that's right. And
yep. You can never avoid it.
So management with no communication is a management style. It's not a very effective one, right? But it is a style, right? And so I think that's what was happening here is there was no expectation laid out as to what he would be doing, what sort of authority he had, right? And I think he expected, at least what I read in this post, he expected to have a certain say and a certain
not this one.
A certain participation in decision making that just didn't happen, right? And with the title he was given, I would expect the same thing.
Absolutely. I think his distinction between what marketing is and what advertising or promotion is something that is a huge misnomer in the non-marketing field and how they view marketing. So that's really a problem that I encounter with my clients and along the way, where people think marketing is just the end thing, where you're just, putting out some social media posts, as opposed to the entire process where you're considering users and approach and, something that's very holistic. So I thought that was a very universal problem, that lack of definition between what those things are. I thought that was really interesting.
Now, this is still, we've only read one side of the story, right? So this is Yoast's take on what happened, right? But I
doubt we will get another post about it.
We won't. We're not going to hear any more about it, right?
So there is only one side that we get, and that's really a problem with a lot of this stuff, just for the record.
Yeah, and sometimes when I read something and it's one side of a story, and it's very attacking or demeaning or condescending or pick a word, right? I tend to victim-y. Right. I tend to discount it. That's not what this was, right? This was written very matter of fact.
And also, I think very even-handed. Like, yes. I think that while he took responsibility for his lack of understanding of expectations, but also did not say, you know, this is totally my fault. You know, I'm a total F up, which I don't think that he is. Let's look at the literally ginormous company and impact that Yoast is, and the impact that it has had on our community. Like, you can't say that that's just a fluke, you know?
And so
if he was given no direction, really, it seems like the philosophy then is time to lean, time to clean. Like, basically, and that's kind of what the philosophy is with a lot of WordPress. Like, you see where the problem is, you pick it up and you start attacking it. But that is not something that you should or can do when you are handing out roles like CMO. Like, you can't just say, okay, well, the same way that we've been handling, you know, okay, there's patches, there's problems that need to get addressed and everything else. Like, go ahead and pick it up and run with the ball.
Go do CMO-ish things.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't, and that is actually, so that is how the project itself, the Make community has been, and I think that's some of the frustrations that people continually come up against, is that it's like DIY to a fault, because it's like, if you want to do it, go do it and do those things, and you can do those things. And if you just want to talk about those things, or if you want to figure out what to do, or if you're looking for any authority in that situation, that just does not exist. So it's almost like the purest meritocracy there ever was. Maybe it's a duocracy. It's a duocracy, right? That's the word that everyone's used for it. It's like, if you do it, then that is in and of itself. If you want to do a thing, do the thing. And that can be extremely frustrating. That has been frustrating for me, why I haven't been more involved. I've multiple times tried to get more involved in the Make community, and I'm continually frustrated by that.
This was a paid role by Automatic, or just like a pilot?
Yes.
It was a paid role, not by Automatic. It was a paid role of the WordPress project. And it's really important to make that distinction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the same thing. WordPress.com and Automatic is run, I don't know how it's run, management style or whatever, but it is a separate entity. So, you know, these confusing overlaps is also part of the problem, because people don't know what part they're talking about. But Yoast was not CMO of Automatic or CMO of WordPress.com. He was basically supposed to be CMO, and I don't even know if that was the actual title he got, or if that was just the role, like you said, CMO-esque stuff.
Ish.
CMO-ish stuff.
Go do some CMO-ish stuff.
You know, the stuff that CMOs do. Just do it.
just go do that. But here's the problem, right? Is when you don't have, there is no structure, at least on the outside, it seems like there's no structure around these roles, right? There might be no org chart, right? And when you're talking about something that powers a third of the internet, that could be problematic.
I would go with is. I'm going to take out problematic.
I'm going to take out the could. I was
right? Just say it's problematic. Look, we've had this conversation.
I was being diplomat.
Yeah. It's like, at this point, we've had this conversation so many damn times. Let's just go ahead and say that it is problematic. It is causing problems. Whether or not it's solvable or fixable, the problems are there, and the problems are recurring. And I don't like to use the word trash fire, but it just keeps coming up in my head. And I'm just like,
Trash fire, I think, it's a little much. However, really, the more I think about it, the more I think of WordPress, the WordPress project being run kind of like indie rock, or to a better extent, like a punk rock sort of like upstart, where it's just like, and especially if you're familiar with like Black Flag or Henry Rollins, it's like, get in the van, we're doing this, let's go. And but
give somebody some sticks and they're the drummer. It's what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. But if you want to make the contribution, if you can pick up a bass and play a couple chords, like, hey, you're in the band.
Whatever, like, man.
Right. But on the flip side, like, I don't know if you've ever seen a punk squat, but those places are hellish.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
Nobody's doing the dishes because they all believe in anarchy. Like they're just like everybody.
There's usually one person who does the dishes for a while, and then they like try to call a meeting, and they're like, "Why is no one doing the dishes?" And then everyone's like, "Who the fuck cares, man?" And then like that person leaves, and they're like, "Those people are crazy."
Yep, and
that sounds exactly like what keeps happening.
And everybody does the thing that they're interested in and doesn't worry about the underlying structure. They're just happy to have a place to crash. They're just happy to have a place to like do their music, or in this case, code, you know, and contribute to something. And they think that they're part of this like unified scene. And I'm sorry about my dog barking in the background, but it's very, yeah, it's very much like an exhausting thing to watch. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that we're kind of just dealing with this whole kind of DIY punk ethos. And now that we're, you know, the WordPress project is a teenager, and it's moving further into like getting closer to adulthood. Like, okay, we gotta set the punk bullshit aside and start actually acting like people who
grown-ups. The word is grown-ups. Just say grown-ups.
Yeah, who are paying their mortgages with WordPress, who are doing stuff like that.
I think that, I'm sorry, I would just want to quick, one of the things you said, Casper, there of the underlying structure, that is really what, when Joost came on to that role, I was actually really excited because I thought that, and I believe this is also what he thought, that he would be able to address that underlying structure and get that situated. And I think that you saw that the flaws in that from the freaking get-go of the announcement of his role, when it upset the entire marketing team and the entire structure that was happening there, and caught like, this wasn't a like, oh yay, someone's coming in and we're going to be able to like have, you know, a link to the management, and we're going to be able to like really take our projects to the next level, which is what I think was expected by Joost, at least, and definitely by myself, not to speak for him, but that's kind of, you know, just where that conversation was going. And that is what caused problems from that moment. Like having that undefined role, you know, made people think that he was coming in as CMO to take over as marketing lead, and, you know, as opposed to being this like overarching kind of, let's see how we can unify this project and unify these efforts. And that, I think, is what failed. I think that is what Joost feels that he failed at doing. And I can't speak for him, but that's what I got from the Joost post.
But to mirror the Yoast post,
just too great.
to mirror what something Casper said is there are companies and people that pay their mortgages, right, by using WordPress as part of how they make their living, right? And
a lot of people,
and
not just some people.
And aside from that, there's businesses that run their entire business on WordPress, right? And so this is almost
a lot of businesses
big to fail, right? It's too big to fail.
Is it though?
I think we're in that state, right? I mean, obviously, you know, if it fails, then you can find something else. But that transition is not easy, and it's not cheap, right? And that's going to affect a lot of people if it does fail. I'm not saying we're on the brink of failure. Don't read it that way, right? That's not what I'm saying. But one of the things to look at is there are competitors that are run by grown-ups.
Well, the difference of being the open source community and having that, and having a structured company with like org charts and, you know, management structures and people who are trained in that, and their role is to manage people and be leaders, you know, that there's a reason that structure has evolved. And it's because when you have people operating at scale, we're not even just talking about scale. We're talking about literally all over the planet. Like we're talking about every time zone. So just that's why the Slack is such chaos. You know what I mean? It's just like these, it's just people talking all the time and everything's asynchronous, and it's either you're like in the pool or you're out of the pool, and it's madness.
My point was that marketing is a key role here, right? And it's something that if you look at the Slack channel, something that people ask for. They ask for, right, for WordPress to be marketed better, for WordPress to be advertised, right? They ask for these things, and that's important. It is important for the brand. It's important for the sustainability. This is an important role. And I thought the same thing you did when Yoast came on board. I said, this is great. That's the perfect person for that role. And so this loss does hurt, right?
Yeah, I'm very
regardless of how it happened.
Not in him.
But this hurts.
Yeah, I'm sad because I thought if anyone would be able to do it, it would be him, because of who he is, his position in the community, his relationships with various leaders of the community, his knowledge of the community. I really thought that this would be something that he could synthesize. And honestly, I'm a little concerned that he wasn't able to do that, because it seems to me that the result is now not that it can't be done, but that is not what Matt wants. And he talked about that a little bit in one of the sections where he talks about how those decisions are made. And that goes back to what I was earlier saying about like how everyone who's like on the outside or just on the outskirts or whatever of the community are like, oh, there's a secret cabal and people are making these decisions and whatever. And it's like, it's not really what's happening. It's really just, kind of no one knows what's happening.
I mean, what this did is pulled back the curtain and said, listen, it's not even that organized.
Yeah, it's
like,
not
really,
even,
honestly.
It's not even as good as the Illuminati. Come on. But I also want to say one point really quick here. You were talking about how marketing is that people ask for. So marketing is more than advertising, and it is more than end user promotion. There's also this concept of public relations, and public relations is not just about public relations to, again, the users. It's about public relations to the community. And this is where the trash fire part starts, because that lack of communication about what's going on and that lack of, Twitter just went nuts, and Twitter's like saying all this stuff, and it's like, now no one knows what to believe, and everyone's like, there's rumors, and he said, she said, and they said, and whatever, and it's a nightmare.
Because there's a lack of public relations.
Exactly, there's literally no public relations.
If you have a public relations nightmare around the public relations role, does that cause a rift in the space-time continuum?
I think it does. I think that's where we are right now.
Sorry, Manny, go ahead.
I think like the ideal person to take this role must be like a people's person, not a marketing specialist or a COS specialist, because you're dealing with a lot of different background, different people, different, like says it, it's not only us here, it's the whole world, right, that we use WordPress. So it's a good thing that he's coming from Netherlands, he's coming from Europe, but yeah. What I've seen here, and I've been involved with the community just for, maybe 5 years now, but it's it's hard to deal with all the egos and, and we are a bunch of techie people too, which is makes things harder,
Which is why I think the hands-off approach has been what everyone has done, because it's easier just to let everyone kind of figure it out themselves and see what rises to the top than it is to actually enforce some structure upon that diverse of a dev base or of a community base. But that is also what is causing the problems. So, because then you have all those same egos and all those same things, and everyone's running over here and saying this to that, and it becomes very fractured.
And ideally, the person to replace Yoast in this role is somebody that it does not come from the tech space, right? You need like a CMO that came from Coca-Cola, right? Or some.
I think that would be a complete travesty, honestly. If you do not understand the WordPress community, then I don't think that you could do this role. And I don't think, again, I would like to say, I do not think that Yoast was the problem with this. I think that well, no, but you're saying someone else could come in from somewhere else.
But this person can learn. He can learn. The guy that came from, whatever company, he can learn if he's, open-minded to,
Okay, I would just like to point out that you assumed that would be a man. You just said the guy that comes from some other company.
The guy or the girl.
That is like inherently sexist. So
I'm
sorry about that. So, yeah, the person.
Let's work on those preconceived notions, y'all.
Sorry about that. But yeah, the person that comes in.
Yeah. There we go.
Must be. He can learn, right? He can, see, adapt, and evolve.
They can learn.
Yeah.
It's all good. Sorry. Digress.
Because it's a lost in translation thing. So it's Portuguese.
It's all good.
Sorry about that. You are on mute.
Let's just call it that. It's fine. I'm not angry. I like to point out the inherent biases we have inside our own minds. Not saying that is an intentional thing.
Yeah, because in Portuguese we don't have that distinction when we say he or she is he. Sorry.
You have a they.
Yeah, or they. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's another thing too. Is this a role for one person, or should maybe it has a team, maybe 3 people.
Some sort of governance project.
Yeah.
I would just like to say that none of it is going to work. It doesn't matter who comes into that role unless Matt is willing to have those conversations and whatever. And Absolutely. It sounds to me that Yoast had a lot of those conversations with Matt, and they talked about it, and they have a fundamental disagreement about approach. And I think that Matt has a very clear idea about how he wants to approach this, and is extremely, I would just say, just dug in on what that is. And that's why I'm concerned, because if someone from the community who has his respect and has quite a lot of leverage within the community cannot sort of open up that chain of just change that approach a little bit or shift that at all. If he can't even move Matt a little bit, and maybe he did move him a little bit, but if that isn't possible, then that's what my concern is. Because at the end of the day, as much as we talk about all this project is so open and everything, this is what's happening. That's what happened with Gutenberg. That's what Yoast said in his post. That is something that he specifically said. I'll read the quote. Matt takes his input from core dev chats and lots of other chats and then decides what the roadmap should look like. So if Matt is the person making these decisions, then Matt is the person who has to be open to a different approach. And Matt is the person who has to change his approach towards the community and the public relations approach of it. He's the only one who can do that because he's the one who's holding the reins.
And ultimately this succeeds or fails on his shoulders.
Yeah,
that's ultimately what it is.
And I think he's a super smart guy, and I think he's done a ton of great work, but I think that we're reaching the limits of his capacity. How can you run this project and run another multi-million-dollar project that has 10 billion investments and also, maybe have this thing called a life? How can you even do that? It's not really possible.
Part of the reason, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but part of the reason I mentioned somebody coming from a large worldwide corporation or outside of the tech community is you need somebody who's implemented and put processes in place, right? That's not Matt's specialty from what I can see on the outside. He's a visionary, right? He's got this vision, and he's not at least from what I see, he's not a good communicator. He's not a great planner, right? You need people with those skills to move this in the way that you're describing.
Yeah, and the other thing too is you need to have clear goals for long term, short term, and mid term, right? From what I saw here at the post, he was Yoast wants to do something right now. He wants to influence into everything that goes out with the WordPress brand. And I think that is you need to have a transition period, right?
I mean, he didn't really speak to my what I read through it. He didn't really speak to what they were trying to accomplish. But what I'm seeing in the dynamic with Matt as the head of this, not even talking about automatic or anything, is what I see in a ton of my clients with small businesses. They started their business, they did all of the things, and as they bring on employees and they add people to their project, they find it really hard to let go of that. And they find it hard to trust the people that they bring on. And if you can't trust the people who you bring on, did you have this problem?
I'm this guy right here. I mean, I know this. I know this. Yes, it is a problem. I'm just as guilty of it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I see. So WordPress may not be a small business, but there's actually a term for it that I can't remember the name for right now. It's like entrepreneur
clusterfuck.
Yeah, it's an entrepreneur clusterfuck. No, it's like, where you cannot let go, and it's a trust issue. You can't trust that these people will enact your vision, or that these people will do what is best for that vision. And that's something we need to work on. Maybe we should just, at WordCamp US, it could be just a big trust exercises. We could all do like trust falls.
Casper, last words?
I was going to say, you look at a project, especially somebody who's trying to run two things at once, like Say said. He's trying to run automatic. He's trying to be the benevolent dictator for life of the WordPress project. You look at someone else who's going through the same thing. Jack Dorsey over at Twitter, who's trying to run Twitter, trying to run Square, and he's not doing a good job at either thing.
So also a trash fire.
Yeah, also a trash fire. And do not use him for an inspiration. Use him as a warning. Like, actually give up some of the things that you've created to other people, and just fucking trust them, please.
All right, on that note, we're going to end.
That's the name of the episode. Just fucking trust them.
Just fucking trust them. That's what I hear. I forgot to, at the top of the hour, or the half hour, I forgot to mention ServerPress. Thank you for your sponsorship.
ServerPress is the best. What?
And this is Jason Tucker signing off. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.